This special Halloween edition of Elizaviews, Whining About the Movies, is brought to you by the first annual Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. Entries are open until December 1st. Have you made your movie? You know you've always wanted to. Why aren't you making it right now? You should. It's the chance of a lifetime. Oh, who's that?
Haha, that's Black Phillip.
That's Black Phillip. Wow, Black Phillip.
Are you scared?
I'm totally scared. Ooh, that's even scarier.
Yeah.
Look at that Black Phillip.
Yep.
Very, very scary. I don't know where your blonde picture
afraid.
is, but
very.
see,
very
there you just went black.
Afraid.
By the way, why don't you explain to us over the blackness what we're about to hear? What are we about to hear?
Oh, okay. So I learned how to use GarageBand this week, or last week. And I'm obsessed.
You're obsessed. Well, here, listen to some of your stylings on GarageBand. Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, of which this film, a very silly attitude, and of course your sommelier of cinema, Robert Meyer Burnett. But you're not here to see me. You're here to see this lovely creature,
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip, the demonic woman of the forest.
Of the forest. I love the forest.
Well, apparently you do. That's why Black Phillip resides there.
That's right.
So, who are you?
I am Elizabeth Gwendolyn Bell, the ace, the arbiter of cinematic excellence, and the enchantress
of entertainment. Well, this is a very special show. It culminates, we've skipped a few, but it culminates our month-long look into horror classics. And I have to say, this particular movie is my favorite horror film of all time. Also, one of my favorite films of all time. This
film is frightening.
This film is the GOAT. To me, it's the greatest of all time. It is both an incredible horror film, and it's also an incredible meditation on the meaning of faith and friendship and all kinds of things. Motherhood. There's so many themes running through this movie, which is what makes it a great horror film. But it's also one of the most disturbing films ever about the corruption of innocence, the power of parenthood.
And the loss of faith.
And the loss of faith. And every time I watch this movie, I see something new in it. The first time I watched this movie, it was one of the very first pre-recorded video cassettes I ever had.
Why don't we...
Oh, right. We should have wine first.
Yeah.
Today's bottle of wine. Oops. I was waxing rhapsodic. This is Paso Dragon for Halloween. Paso Dragon. It's a Cab Sauv. Is this a Trader Joe's special? Well, why don't you hand me your glass, Black Phillip, and let me pour up some of the bloodiness. I never drink wine. All right.
Why, thank you.
And
can I have a little more?
Oh, okay. Not a strong enough pour for you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wino.
Quarter.
Wino. All right. So let's drink to Hurricane Billy Friedkin, one of my favorite directors of all time. This probably is his masterpiece, The Exorcist.
Yes.
Based on the novel by William Peter Blatty, who also wrote the screenplay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hail Satan. The year is one. Pretty good.
Well,
it's delightful.
I usually avoid cabs, but this is good.
It's really good.
Very good.
So I have to say, the first time that I ever saw this movie, I remember hearing the radio ads for it in 1973, 74. And I really wanted to see the movie. As a kid, I was.
You're kidding.
No.
You were so young.
I was 6 and 7, but I still love monster movies and science fiction, and the radio ads were so intriguing. And I would hear them going in the car from my house to my grandparents' house on Sundays.
Please tell me your parents didn't let you see this when you were 6.
No, they didn't, much to my chagrin. I didn't get to see this movie until I had my bar mitzvah, and I got a VCR for my bar mitzvah. And I took my money, and I bought 5 pre-recorded video cassettes in 1980. And this was one of them. And I saved this until midnight to watch it. And I put it on. It was notorious. I was 13 years old. I didn't know anything about this film other than what it had this great reputation, and I hadn't seen it. This movie opens in Iraq. There's a scene in Iraq. Now, the director's cut we watched has a section in Georgetown. We'll get to this in a minute. But the original version opens in Iraq.
Yes.
With Lancaster Marin, played by Max von Sydow, who, by the way, was in his 40s when he made this movie. Dick Smith makeup, incredible makeup. Looks like an old man. Mm-hmm. He's not. He was a 40-year-old man.
No.
That was all makeup, yes, by the great Dick Smith.
You're kidding, because
no.
I really...
One of the best old age makeups ever done for a movie.
Yes.
The way with the shutter speed, everything that happened in Iraq scared the bejesus out of me. The tone of it all, the look of it
scary.
All, like the guys in the foundry when one of them turns and looks and one of his eyes is clear, and everything about this. I learned what verisimilitude is, especially when it comes to horror, in this film.
Yes.
This movie has peak verisimilitude, and of course Friedkin was on the heels of his Academy Award win for The French Connection. He brought his documentary style, which he applied so well in French Connection, to this. The most relentlessly naturalistic and realistic horror film I think that's ever been made, that yet is still grand guignol, over-the-top craziness. What did you think? What were your first impressions of The Exorcist?
This movie is really disturbing, and, I am freaked out, or especially growing up, freaked out about Satan and being possessed. And so I know growing up, I did not see this film. I did not want to see this film. And every time somebody even talked about it, I would freak out. So I didn't see this until a few years ago when you showed it to me.
For the first time.
And I was afraid to watch it.
Well, I couldn't get past the Iraq sequence when I first put it on. I literally, it was by 12:10, I was so freaked out by the tone. It was the tone, because there is no unrealism. It's so relentlessly realistic, like all 70s movies. Nobody could actually make a movie like this today. The sensibility isn't there. Even the quality of the film, it's very realistic looking. There's not a lot of music. There's some, but there's not a lot of music. There's not a lot of flashy lighting. This movie sets you down into a milieu in both Iraq and in Georgetown where it is so naturalistic. You feel what you're seeing is so real.
Yeah, even her interactions with her daughter at the beginning felt very real to me. It felt like very real conversations, not these fake scripted
right. Even Blatty's script. I would dare say that William Peter Blatty's script for Exorcist III is even better than this, because there's more movie flourishes in it. But the interactions that people have in this movie are so just incredible, and it's heartbreaking. Now, I will say that for this showing, we did watch the early 2000s, the version you've never seen, The Exorcist, the version you've never seen, which, upon hindsight, I do not like as much as the theatrical version, with the exception of one scene. The added spider walk scene when she walks down with the blood at the end, I do like that. But I think there's a few missteps in this version.
Which is why they cut it out.
Yeah, and the biggest being, the most egregious thing that I do not like in this version of the film is Reagan goes to the doctor early on, and she's uncharacteristically
rude and nasty.
Rude and nasty. And I think that tips the scales, and it makes her unsympathetic too early. When she comes down and confronts the astronaut at the after party at Chris McNeil's house and says, you're going to die up there, and pees on the carpet, that's when things go rolling. And the peeing on the carpet is so shocking to see a 12-year-old girl do this, and that's the demarcation point where the movie steps into where it ups the ante.
Yeah.
And I think that another thing that I really love about this film, you really have two stories going on. And Jason Miller, who plays Father Karras, Damien Karras in this movie, had never been in a movie before. He was a playwright in New York, and the studio didn't want him, and Friedkin cast him, and Linda Blair playing Reagan McNeil, total unknown. And so then of course you have Ellen Burstyn, who also was not very well known, and so that adds to the verisimilitude of the movie.
It does.
I mean, these people again look like real people.
They look like real people.
They look like real people. I mean, Jason Miller's face, he is a New York priest. And all they cast real priests in this film. I mean, it is...
Really?
Yeah, it is so...
He wasn't, though.
No, he wasn't. No, he's a playwright. But the story of a priest losing his faith, you know, his mother dying, his mother's brother accusing him, why can't you get her in a good place, Damien?
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Why you could have been a Park Avenue, Beverly Hills psychiatrist.
Right. Which, at first I didn't understand, like, why would a psychiatrist become a priest? But it was the other way around. The diocese sent him to school to become a psychiatrist.
That is true. And he counsels other priests.
He does.
And it's just... So the two different tracks, you have a priest who has lost his faith. At the beginning of the movie, he's lost his faith. And talk about a story. I mean, a priest has lost his faith. And then at the same time, you have Ellen Burstyn's character who plays Chris McNeil. She's a famous movie star. She's in Washington, D.C. to shoot a film that's being directed by the character Burke Dennings.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, there's also a meta commentary about movie making that's happening in this film as well, which is not overt, but it's really interesting.
It is interesting.
And watching this actress trying to have a normal home life, I mean, she's got her assistant all the time. She has her servants.
Right.
And there's so much going on in this film. It's so layered, and it's so mature. Mm-hmm. And once the juxtaposition of these two stories alone, even if there was no possession, this would have been an interesting film running on these two tracks of this actress being a mother, a single mother, and you don't know what happened to the father, but the father's gone.
Right.
In Europe.
Right.
And so it's not exactly, would you call this your typical horror film setting?
Well, no.
Absolutely not, right?
No, it is not.
So how did you feel about the setting and these two different stories that are set up? How did you feel about the Damien Karras story and the Chris McNeil, Reagan McNeil mother-daughter story?
Oh, I mean, it's great. It's like you're watching a drama, and you see this really nice relationship that she has with her daughter, and she's a sweet little girl, 12 years old, and they have a great relationship, and then all of a sudden things go wrong, and her personality changes, and that's that actually happens in to kids. They change a lot when they're growing, but for her to be possessed, like.
Well, I mean, that's something I wanted to ask you. I mean, as a mother, you see this very sweet relationship. She's a very nice child. She's inquisitive. She does art. Mm-hmm. She loves her life. She's very upbeat. And so watching her descent, how is that for you as a mom?
I mean, that's heart-wrenching. I mean, I kept thinking about how this mother was feeling to watch her daughter become this monster. It's just insane. The thought is insane.
No, it is. And they do such a... I mean, first of all, the horror really begins when they're trying to figure out what's wrong with Reagan. And she has her spinal taps. They're looking for a lesion on the brain. Yeah,
they're doing all these tests that are, painful.
They're barbaric and painful. They do this. They tap. She's got blood. I mean, it's so... The actual medical procedures. Again, Friedkin spares... He unflinching looks at these procedures with the sounds and the pain and the horror of it all, and his camera does not look away. Like
No.
when the skin gets pierced with something and blood comes out. But this is the reality, and what I think is so brilliant about this film is these scenes are setting up the flesh. You know, they're setting up our bodies as being corruptible. Like no one knows what's wrong. I mean, we want to think that, hey, we are creations of God. You know, we are manifestations of God. And when something is wrong, God is corruptible. He is not infallible. And for something to go wrong with a child is like the worst kind of...
Yeah, I mean, a child is innocent. I mean, you know, until they grow up and start, you know, being devious, they're innocent.
Yeah, no, they are innocent, which just adds
But,
to
you know, you should never play with a Ouija board.
Yeah, I mean, the Ouija board, it's interesting because that is a very, one of my favorite moments in any film ever is when her mother's going to go put her hands on the Ouija board and the what's it called? I don't even know what it's called. The thing you put your hands on.
I don't know, but I can tell you.
But it slides from her hand into Reagan's hand. I mean, that's the first manifestation of, well, it's not really the first manifestation, but it's overtly movie supernatural behavior.
Well, I've heard of Ouija boards actually doing that.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but I mean that
I was terrified of though. Like, if anyone even brought that up, same with, you know, this movie when I was young. I mean, I would freak out.
And the jump scare when Chris McNeil goes into the attic with the
oh my God, that's so
candle.
Scary.
I mean, it's so the way Friedkin plays it. There's no music. It's not telling you. It's just her. She's looking around in this attic, and the candle flames up.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden her butler is there with the flashlight.
I mean, it shows in terms of the filmmaking power here. It's just so beautifully done.
Yeah, and it's frightening.
And it's frightening. And the movie was shot by Owen Roizman, the great Owen Roizman. Incredible. You know, him and Gordon Willis, I think, during this period of time were my favorite cinematographers working in American film. Just unbelievable work. And, you know, the build-up, what's interesting about this film is, if you go and look on YouTube, there's a lot of, like, reaction videos to this. A lot of girls are watching this movie. And they settle in and they're watching this, and I love seeing the reactions because it does not have any of the pulp sensibilities of horror films. It's relentlessly real, and I think they're kind of bored and maybe incredulous about, well, why is this movie... And then as it gets ramped up, watching it sort of cast its spell is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are some of the things that struck you as we're watching the first... I think the setup, the first third of this movie, as you're meeting these people, you always say to me, because I always go, why you leave me, Damie? Why?
All the time.
I always say, why you leave me, Damie? When I was in Australia working on Superman Returns, Adam Robitel, the director of Escape Room and Escape Room 2 that's coming out, we had cubicles next to each other, but we couldn't see each other because they were tall walls. And in the middle of the day, once a day, he would say, La plume dilettante, just for no reason. And, I mean, this film is so ingrained in my psyche. I mean, I saw it 40 years ago. It's almost 50 years old. And it's, you know, why you leave me, Damien? I mean, to me, one of the horrors of this film is that Damien Karras has no money to get his mother out of this shithole, horrible, living in New York in the 70s garbage neighborhood where kids jump on abandoned cars. It's just terrible.
Right.
I'm not leaving my home, Damie.
He has a lot of guilt.
A lot of guilt.
Over being a priest and not being able to afford things, and it really wears away at his faith.
Right.
And here he is, he's a psychiatrist. He could be making buco bucks.
And
his uncle makes him feel guilty, like, you could be a famous psychiatrist.
You could be a Park Avenue psychiatrist, Damie.
And you could buy, you know, your mother would be living in a mansion. So it eats away at him.
Oh, it eats away at him. And then he has to deal, in addition to all that guilt, he has familial guilt. He's all the people that have come to him with problems, and it's heavy. and at the same time, he's losing his faith in God.
Right.
So, I mean, I can't imagine a more interesting character in a more precarious position.
Right.
And it's and what does he need to help him out? What does Damien Karras need? He needs the devil. He needs the devil. He needs to confront the devil. The devil, like in City Slickers, is going to help him find his smile.
Well, no, I mean,
or his faith.
I mean, yes, yeah. I mean, if you can witness Satan, then if there's Satan, there's got to be God.
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten to that part yet. Don't jump ahead, spoiler girl.
Well, I mean, we're kind of bouncing around all over the place.
I know. So what happens? I mean, in the film.
What part?
Well, no, I mean, as this goes on, clearly Reagan becomes disturbed, and it's really, they do a great job where they show you how sweet she is.
Right.
And then, like, the first time she swears, she's like, "You fucking bastard." You know, in the hospital. It's shocking.
Right. It is shocking.
It's shocking. And it's, I mean, you could chalk it up to she's in the hospital. You know, she's being tested and she's fed up.
Is that the scene where that's left out in the theatrical?
No, there's the actual, she says that in the real theatrical version. Boy, they really tipped their hand. That was I think a big mistake. Not that I think William Friedkin should be told how to direct the film, but I think the theatrical version of The Exorcist is a perfect movie. They added a bunch of scenes throughout the film, little scenes here and there. There's a couple that I really like, but that scene in particular has got to go. When Reagan goes to the hospital and suddenly she's uncharacteristically bad news before things have started happening.
Yeah, she's awful, and it's abrupt. It's like you see this sweet little girl, and you know something's up when she pees on the carpet, but then it goes to where she's like swearing and saying the most outrageous things to this doctor.
I mean, when she uses, if you have a 12-year-old girl telling a doctor using the word cunt, you've tipped your hand a little early.
Yeah, it was over the top.
Yeah, and I was surprised because I didn't remember that. Like I keep thinking like I never watched the version from 2000 until we watched it. I skipped through to see the new scenes, but I never watched it in context.
Oh yeah.
And that really, remember I told you, I said don't.
You're like, erase this. This is not.
Yeah, I was like,
don't remember this part.
Yeah,
but
really.
Anyway, he diagnoses her with. Well, they didn't call it ADHD back then, but like he prescribes her. He says her nerves. She has nerves or something, and prescribes her Ritalin, and explains that it's a stimulant. And she's like, a stimulant? Well, she's already high as a kite or whatever. Right.
And also, you know, there is an undercurrent of absent father. Mm-hmm. That a lot of this might be because they're like. On her birthday, Chris McNeil's trying to get a hold of her ex-husband and can't.
Right.
He's trying to call the hotel in Rome.
Right.
So there is an undercurrent of that. Definitely absent father not there. Yeah. And then as the situation escalates, I mean, it's one of the great. I mean, how did you feel about the set pieces? Every time you go into Reagan's room, it gets worse. And worse.
Well, yeah, at one point she tries to smash her mom with this ginormous dresser. And so they take most
well, that's
of
the
it.
most famous scene. That's when she
Oh, really?
is masturbating with the crucifix. Oh, my God. I mean, the blasphemous...
It's not even masturbating. She's just, like, stabbing herself.
Yeah, but we lead up to that. I mean, the dialogue, the doctors, I mean, the Mercedes McCambridge doing the voice of the devil.
Oh, and it's like horrific because not only is she stabbing herself with the crucifix, but then when her mother comes in, she shoves her mother's face down there. It's like, it's so horrifying. It's like,
lick me.
It's like the
lick me.
It's like the most disturbing thing I've ever watched.
Well, what's interesting about it is it's profane, you know, and it's anti-God.
Yeah.
You know, it's
well, yeah, that's what Satan is.
And what I love about it is it doesn't rely. The thing about I think that this movie is very, very smart, and I think it requires a lot of people. Like I think this is the scariest movie I've ever seen, and it's never. I'm unwavering in that. Now, is it scary like the autopsy of Jane Doe?
Well, no, this is This is scary, like realistic scary.
It's
because,
existential. It's existential
well, not
dread.
only that, if you were raised as a Christian, like Satan is a real thing to you. It's real, and you hear about possessions and exorcisms and like I said, when I was little, I thought Satan was under my bed, and I would say, in the name of Jesus Christ, get out. Like, you learn that.
Yeah, but you think that works.
It does work.
And no, it doesn't.
It does.
I mean, this movie, I mean, no regular human being. Look, I'm a Jew.
You don't even believe in.
I know, but
don't even say that it doesn't work.
Okay, but here's the thing. I'm an atheist.
Right.
You know?
So am I at this point.
But what I do love about this film is I want to believe, like Fox Mulder, that faith works.
Right.
You know, my best friend growing up was Catholic, Jeff Swafford, and I loved Catholicism. I love the pageantry of it. When it works. I mean, I know everyone's making jokes about priests. In this film is about how priests are the front line of defense. William Peter Blatty was a Jesuit, and priests are the front line of defense against the horrors of what Satan brings to the world. And Lancaster Marin, and nowadays people are so jaded, and I get it. I understand. I'm not going to ever try and defend what other things have happened in the Catholic Church. But in the context of this film and what faith in God means.
I mean, you don't even have to talk about all that stuff. Faith in any, faith is actually a very beautiful thing. And to really believe in something good, and to be part of a community that also believes the same thing, it's a really beautiful thing. And the thought that something evil, something truly like the most evil, could take over a little girl is just the most horrific thought ever.
Well, it only works because the evil has taken root in the most innocent of souls.
Right.
And the corruption.
And it's because she played with a Ouija board.
Well, see, yes.
That's how she invited him in, because you can't. What I was taught is you cannot be possessed unless you invite the spirit in.
Right, but
she invited the spirit in by playing with the Ouija board.
But she
opened herself up to that.
But here's the thing. I mean, I think that in a way, she didn't invite it in. It was the milieu, the world that she existed in. That it was the fact that her parents had split up. It was the fact that her mother is an actress. It was the modern age that she is a casualty of the world that she inhabits.
True. And that's all part of it.
Yeah, it's all part of it. I don't think she asked for it. And I don't think
she didn't ask for it, but the actual act of playing with the Ouija board, it like brought her closer to the spirit world. And
yeah, but see, look, you don't see her playing. There's no scene when if she had played with a Ouija board, I think it diminishes the idea. It's not the Ouija board that
I'm saying that's what opened things up for this demon to take possession of her.
Yeah, but that's too much of a horror movie conceit.
No, it's not. It's not. It's what people really believe. It's not a horror film conceit. They use that because that's what people believe.
See, I think it happened before that. I don't think she played with a Ouija board and suddenly Captain Howdy is talking to her. I think she started playing with the Ouija board because Captain Howdy compelled her to do so. I think the corruption had already taken root and begun because the broken family and all of that.
Yes, but the fact that she played with the Ouija board opened up the possibility of her being possessed by this spirit. The spirit might have been messing with her before that, sure, but the act of playing with the Ouija board opened her up to being possessed.
See, I don't necessarily think you're wrong, but I think that sort of diminishes the film and makes it more of a conventional kind of a horror movie. Like, you know.
Well, then why would they put it in there if you didn't think that?
No, I know.
They put it in there for that reason.
I know. I know.
There had to be an explanation of why this 12-year-old girl got possessed.
Yes, but I don't think William Friedkin himself would say that I put the Ouija board in there. There had to be. I think he was pointing to.
You don't get possessed because your parents split up and your mom is an actress.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the overall degradation of the family unit, and the fact that Chris McNeil being an actress, she's dragged her daughter to Washington D.C. I think subtly it's all about the selfishness of, like, she's not a mother, her assistant takes her out, you know, and it's subtle, but I think that the idea behind it all is that, look, a movie director making a film about an actress whose daughter is corrupted has to have something, a little bit of, the actress is a little bit selfish.
Well, yes, I agree. That's all part of it. That's all part of it. But that's not enough to have the girl be possessed.
No, but I look, I think it's a little reductive to say that she played with a Ouija board, so now the devil came inside of her. I think the devil came inside of her because she is this incredible innocent that is surrounded by the folly of humanity. You know, and
right, but,
it made
but like
it made
said, she's innocent, and until there is some kind of where she allows this to happen.
See, I can't. She didn't, though. If you do that, if you say that she started it, you're then what you're doing is you're saying that she somehow brought it on herself.
No. That is not at all what I'm saying. And she probably didn't even know what was happening. But the fact that you're messing with this thing that is pretty much, I mean, it's a connection to the spirit world.
Yeah, but a Ouija board's like a canary in a coal mine. It's not a prime mover. The Ouija board just tells you.
What I'm saying is, okay.
No. This is. I think this is a really interesting conversation. I think this is really a really important point to make. I mean, you might be right.
I'm just saying, growing up as a Christian, there's no way that she could have been possessed without being open to being possessed.
Okay. See, the reason that I object to that...
And I'm not saying she consciously opened herself up to being possessed.
Right.
Of course not. Like, she thought she was innocently playing with this board game with Captain Howdy. And
see, I just think that the point is that this kind of corruption of the innocent is, if somehow she was complicit in it, it takes away some of the horror.
But she wasn't complicit in it.
Well, I mean, you're saying she had to invite it somehow by playing with...
I'm not saying she had to invite it, but she had to open herself up to it.
But we don't see that in the film.
Well, we see her playing with the Ouija board.
We do see her playing.
Why did they put that scene in there?
Well, I think they showed that because the Captain Howdy was already there. It's not like she started...
had been playing with that Ouija board for a while.
Right, but... Well, okay. I mean, I think this is an interesting point. Maybe you and I will have to agree to disagree here. But that's an interesting point.
Well,
I've never considered that before.
If the Ouija board wasn't part of the story, then they wouldn't have put it in the film.
No, that's true. That's what I'm saying. I've never thought of that before.
I mean, you can't really talk about possession of an innocent girl and not show some sort of connection to that realm.
Right.
I mean, it would be a weird film if that scene wasn't in there, and she just became possessed. And then people would question, like, why is this little girl getting possessed? You
could be right about that. I've honestly seen this movie 100 times. I've never thought of that before, and you could be right about that. I never considered that.
I just can't imagine somebody getting possessed without some sort of connection.
No, that's true. But that to me is more of a, if there's causality to possession.
People aren't just randomly possessed.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, I don't think they are randomly possessed, but there's a reason why this. I think this particular girl was a particular brand of innocence that was like a shining beacon. Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you believe, like in the,
But there's so many innocent girls.
Would you presuppose in this movie, like, I believe that it actually is the devil? I think this movie is, they in Exorcist II, they call it Pazuzu, a demon, or whatever. I think this is the first evil. Call it what you want. Lucifer, Morningstar, the first of the fallen. I think this is you're dealing with the big man. Old Scratch.
I mean, does that matter?
I think it does matter because in the battle of faith, there is only God and the devil. You're not battling some office worker.
Yeah, but God has angels and the devil has demons.
Well, that's true. That's true. But I mean, you're dealing here with questions of faith.
Yeah.
And reality, and not, some Hieronymus Bosch version of hell. This is, to me, this is God and the devil battling it out on earth. And it's the battle that's never ending. It's the battle that touches humanity every single day, and we are seeing it's a headlining bout. This would be the pay-per-view event of the year. And the idea is you've had a priest that has lost his faith, that is supposed to go in and figure out whether or not she's being possessed or not.
Right.
And it's a guy, the last guy in the world that would believe in this.
But that's why it makes it so perfect.
I know. That's why God has sent him in there in the first place.
Yes.
God has picked a man that has lost his faith.
Exactly.
And pointed him in this direction. You've lost your mother. You are racked with guilt. You are the last person in the world that should take up my mantle for me. But also, if you do, you are my greatest warrior. You are my Maximus Decimus Meridius. Because if you had a man of true faith that could walk in there and do this, it wouldn't matter. I mean, God has picked a man that has strayed from the path, which makes him as a warrior of the faith even that much stronger, because he has to find it within himself.
He does.
That's why I love this movie so much.
It's great.
And then, of course, you have, so let me ask you this. So you have Lancaster Marin, Max von Sydow's character. Mm-hmm. We see him unearth. He knows that the devil has come. He knows. He's in Iraq. What do you think that was all about?
Well, he found these artifacts, and he kind of unleashed this demon that was there.
But did he unleash the demon, or were these just manifestations? Because they say in the movie, we don't see this. We do see it in Exorcist II, in the beginning with Richard Burton. We see a
Well, they say that he performed an exorcism 12 years earlier.
Right.
When he was there.
Yeah, and that's another thing. A movie now would show a flashback scene to the exorcism that he performed.
Yes, it's true. I'm glad they didn't.
Again, that would be lame.
But they did show him at the archaeology site digging up stuff, and this really creepy scene of him like confronting Satan. The
Pazuzu, whatever, the winged
demon or whatever.
Again, one of my favorite things in any movie. There's so many things in this. I've told you, like the confrontation between Marin and the devil, with the sound, more of an ambient kind of a with the sun
and the dogs barking.
And all these manifestations.
And the wind. It's like so creepy.
It's so great. And another favorite thing is when, it was in Evil Dead too. He ripped it off. Sam Raimi ripped it off when the clock.
Yes,
stops. And what I love about that is that another unbelievable, simple, but an incredible manifestation of, like, we take time for granted. Time marches on, and clocks are the ultimate manifestation of the relentless pursuit. Time is the fire in which we burn, harking back to Star Trek Generations. When you see time stop, when time stops, I mean, it doesn't really stop, but the clock stops, the power that it would take to stop time, you're dealing with forces that are you're dealing with God and the devil.
Yeah.
Because only they can stop time. And all of these things are set up so beautifully, but subtle.
Yeah.
And I think what's so great is there's this just creeping dread in this whole movie.
Yes.
Everything about it.
Yes.
So when you're watching, these sequences, like going up into her bedroom, I mean, even like, again, we saw, like in movies like Paranormal Activity, the idea that there is a monster in your closet.
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, well, okay. But the idea that your bedroom is supposed to be safe.
Oh my God, it's not. Like I said.
And it's the place where we have to go to bed and we can't defend ourselves. So...
when you're a kid, your bedroom is so creepy and scary.
And again, I just love the fact that the horror, it becomes this, every time they go into a room, it gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, yeah, they have to take all the furniture out, then they have to wrap up her bed so she doesn't hurt herself.
And the funny thing is they don't show this. One of the things I
No,
love
they
about
don't.
Friedkin, it's like, here's the montage where we're going to wrap up her bed so she
Yeah.
doesn't hurt herself. And they don't show us, it's just, time is passing because she's more fucked up every time they go in there.
Yes.
It's so well done.
It is so well done.
And I mean, as a mother, she's going to all these doctors and she's so frustrated. Have you ever been, I mean, I know you've dealt with medical issues with your daughter.
Both of my girls.
How was that for you? Like when you watch this movie, seeing Chris McNeil dealing with medical experts?
Oh my God, it's like the story of my life. You're just constantly trying to find answers and you're going from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor. And, it's like this never ending cycle. And, you have doctors telling you different things, different doctors telling you different things, and it never all comes together. And then you start feeling like these doctors are full of shit. They don't know shit. They don't know anything. They're just like guessing. That's how it feels.
Well, again, I talked about before, like I love movies that deal with I mean, as somebody who doesn't believe in God or the devil, these are my favorite things. I mean, God and the devil are my favorite things to deal with because as literary devices or as talking about the human spirit, which does exist. I mean, there is a manifestation of our minds, our sentience, and that we think and we feel and all this. And every day there's a devil and an angel on our shoulders, putting us. I mean, these are my favorite things, and this is the pinnacle to me. This is the top of Mount Everest of God and the devil and movies that deal with this. And it is. That's maybe why I love it so much, is because it speaks, it's all about the human spirit. It's all about persevering over incredible odds. And you could use it metaphorically and say that no matter what happens to you in your real life, this is a metaphor for that. Fucking Satan has your daughter. And anything other than that, what could be worse?
Yeah.
I mean, I read this book about when I was in college by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. And he had been in a concentration camp, and the whole thing is about dealing with that. I guess perhaps because I'm a Jew, that's why I'm fascinated by the battle that Catholicism fights against the devil. It's
not just Catholicism.
Right. I mean, it's all faith, but I knew it. I went to my friend's first communion. So the pageantry of this, I'm like, if we're going to fight the devil, it's going to be here, because Jews really don't have, I mean, Yiddish folktales, we have Asmodeus and Lilith and all that, but we don't really have that.
It's true.
And when I was going to Sunday school, I was always kind of bummed out. I'm like, where can we fight the devil? Like, what's up?
Oh man, if you'd grown up like me, maybe you wouldn't be so like in love with Satan.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm in love with Satan. I'm in love with Satan as a literary device, as a storytelling device. He's a fascinating character.
He is a fascinating
Whether you want to
character.
anthropomorphize him like they do in Lucifer, or what he's doing in, because in this movie Satan's a punk. Like he's taken over an innocent little girl. He's a bully. And he's taunting priests. I mean, he's also, Satan is pathetic in this movie. He is pathetic. It's low-hanging fruit. He is not some sophisticate like Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate. I'm a fan of man. He's the worst kind of punk in this movie.
He is.
He's not someone to be admired. Satan is a cowardly, sniveling, functionary douchebag in this film.
Yes. Yes, he is.
And he uses the lowest form. He's not clever. He doesn't. He's a douchebag. Yet, his tactics are sound. He horrifies the audience like he horrifies the human beings in this movie. So at the end of the film, for those of you who haven't seen it, what happens?
Okay, so they get the
Father Marin that we've met.
Father Marin comes to help.
And the devil knows him. They've met before.
Yeah, because he did that exorcism 12 years earlier. And he comes and
Father Karras, who's lost his mother and
Karras,
lost his faith.
His name.
And what's interesting is his performance too. Watching Jason Miller, like he thinks it's all hogwash until the first time he sees her, and he's like.
But even then, the first time he sees her and she's talking with different voices, he's still not quite sure. But then when when she starts really like.
Well, he does things like he hits her with water. He says it's holy water, and it's not.
Right.
So
then he's skeptical. But then she knew that his mother died, and he asks her mother, like, "Did you tell your daughter that my mother died?" And she's like, "No, not at all. She wouldn't know anything."
Yeah. So he's being played too.
Yes.
It's like because the devil's not going to be like, "Hi, I'm the devil. Here's evidence."
Right.
Let me just I'm gonna whatever. I'm gonna keep tripping you up.
Yeah. Totally. And it's not until they get in there to do the exorcism that like he's like, "Oh shit."
Why you leave me, Damie? Why you leave me to die?
He's like, shut up. And then
Well, and then of course Father Marin, who we see from the beginning, he's taking nitroglycerin tablets. He has a bad heart. In the actual exorcism only lasts like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Well, yes. I mean, it only lasts 10 minutes, but you have the sense that it was hours.
Right, and the build up to it is it's just so great. And I mean, look, one of the problems with movies like this is the reputation that it has. People think that I don't know, someone's gonna like a sledgehammer is gonna come out of the screen and hit you in the head. Because we've seen things like in Poltergeist when they go into Carol Ann's room and everything is swirling around and the Incredible Hulk on horseback goes Meh! and when everything's
no verisimilitude in that movie.
Right. That's right. ILM. I mean, this movie, to me, as far as horror films go, when I talk about peak verisimilitude, it's this and Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
To me...
This film, like, I could see people not wanting to watch it because this, I mean, if you still believe in that, like, this could be a conduit for a spirit to, it would open up the possibility of being possessed.
Just watching this movie.
It.
No, it absolutely is. And I think one of the frustrations in my life getting older and having watched these films, we don't even live in a world today where people watch this movie and can take it seriously anymore. Right. There's so much water under the bridge and so much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, people aren't. Back when we were growing up, being a Christian, it was like that's what you believed. Like now, people question everything. Like people have lost. There's not that strict adherence to.
Well, also people believe that everything that they think is right. Like the thing about this movie is like Star Trek. Star Trek presupposed that our world around us was something to aspire to. Right. To be better. Like this movie does. This movie, like, there is a world out there that we can be better. Now people are like, I want the world the way I want it to be.
And not only that, but I think there's been a degradation of respect. And so there used to be like a hierarchy, and you respected your elders and you believed what they told you, and you obeyed what they said, and even like your parents. But that doesn't exist anymore. It's like everyone is on the same plane, whether you're 12 or 50 or 100. That level of respect is gone, and so this kind of faith can't exist anymore in this world, because there's not that level of respect anymore. You don't respect anyone. Everyone's the same.
Right, because everybody is a special snowflake. Everybody, like, this movie says, you need to fucking earn it, man.
Right.
You need to earn it. It doesn't matter what you believe. I don't care who you are. You need to earn your faith. And if you don't earn it, you will, the devil will fuck you up. And now we live in a world where everybody thinks that, oh, I feel this way. I'm this way, so I need you, and blah, 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 blah. There's none of that. Right. I mean, no one who exists today, all these people that are out in the streets protesting, the devil will fuck them up. He will. And by the way, in a way, you could say that, we all want to get possessed by a cause, so we can believe that we are noble. We have joined this great cause to liberate people, to say how woke we are and all of this.
Well, yeah.
When really it should be the other way around. Have you sorted yourself out? Yeah. Who are you to go to other people and say, you, I'm going to come after you? Who the fuck are you to say that? Who the fuck are you?
Especially if you haven't even lived life and
you are a
experience.
Faithless, godless priest. You have nothing to say to anybody else because you haven't earned anything. Yeah. So now when you watch this movie, I mean, it's to me, it's amazing where I argue with people on Twitter that are telling me how to live my life, or how I haven't done this or how I haven't done that. And it's amazing that maybe the devil in this movie, he won. The world that we live in, yeah. And as a Jew, I don't even believe in the devil, but I can still look around from a literary standpoint and go, our world, especially over the last 10 years in academia, safe spaces, fucking satanic. The idea of a safe space where you don't have to work. Other people are going to create a bubble for you to be in, so you don't have to deal with your guilt or anything, or the ickiness of life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, you watch this movie, and this movie is about getting over your own shit, manning up, or womaning up, or faithing up, because at the end of the day, if you aren't going to do it, you cannot. Damien Karras, a man who's lost his faith, is called upon at one moment to defeat the devil by finding his faith. Come into me. And he gets that demon, he gets the devil to come out of her. You know why? Because Damien Karras doesn't need a safe space. He's not afraid of dialogue or anything people say. He comes to a moment where it's all about me, my conviction. I have to have her come into me. If I was a fucking namby-pamby bullshit, it's all everyone else's fault. You've made me feel terrible. The world is lost. That's where we're at now. We need everybody to become a Damien Karras.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to be political, but that's what happens.
Well,
Damien Karras takes the responsibility. He finds his faith at the end of this movie, and he says, come into me. You know why he does that? Because the fucking world isn't a safe space. And in a little girl's bedroom, that becomes the battleground between life and death, between faith and
well, and
whatever.
Also because he has respect. He has respect for God, and he has respect that this entity has strength and can take possession of somebody. Nowadays, it's like people would be like, who the fuck are you? Who cares? I'm out of here. You're making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like what you're saying. Your words are violence.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I mean, seriously, really? Have you confronted the devil in Reagan McNeil's bedroom? Have you found faith, and have you brought Satan into yourself and dove out a window to save an innocent's life? If you haven't, fuck you. Seriously. Fuck off. What have you ever done for anybody except selfishly said, I don't feel very good. Sorry.
Okay. I think that's enough. Enough of a rant.
Is that enough of a rant? Yes. Am I ranting? Should I have more wine?
No, because that'll make you rant more.
It's Halloween. No, but I do think that the end of this film is incredibly uplifting, because Damien Karras does find his faith again.
He not only finds his faith, but he sacrifices himself to save this girl.
And
where have you heard that before? He sacrifices himself to save this girl.
It is an astonishing moment.
Yeah.
And you know what? Whatever you believe, it doesn't matter what your faith is, if you're somebody of faith or not. His sacrifice is the key. It's at the end of this movie. You know, it's like when people talk to me about how Stanley Kubrick was a misanthropic, didn't like mankind, and I've always said, that isn't true. Like what Kubrick is doing is he's showing behavior. I think he was in love with all of our foibles and our shortcomings and our folly.
Yes.
Our folly is the
Our
ultimate our imperfections. And in showing those things, he said, look, don't be this way. And Friedkin's movie at the end of this, William Peter Blatty, a man of faith, the writer, and Friedkin is saying at the end of the film, like, look, you might die. But even somebody who's lost faith in God, I can't imagine a Catholic priest who's lost faith in God.
Well, that happens.
No, but I know, but that's a pretty dark, deep place to be in. And he rises up. You know, at the end of the movie, Damien Karras, with all the guilt about his mother's death and all the pain and all of the suffering, he lets all of that go. Like nowadays, everybody wants to trade on their suffering. I've been so victimized.
They want a gold star for their suffering.
They want a gold star. Damien Karras doesn't get it.
But it's not even real suffering.
No.
It's... Yeah,
no,
anyway.
And Damien Karras in his suffering is able to rise up and grab his humanity. Grab not just his faith, but his humanity.
Yes.
And rescues the soul of an innocent. I mean, gets that demon to come into him, which is what the demon wanted the whole time.
Right.
You know, corrupting a little girl's easy. What I really wanted to do was I wanted to corrupt these two men of faith. Okay. One of them died. Marin died. I would love to have corrupted him. But...
Okay, so at the end, when he has fallen down the stairs and he's squeezing the hand of the other priest...
Father Dyer.
It doesn't really show him dying, so... If he did die... then it would be like, okay, then what was the point of the demon possessing him if he just jumped out the window and died?
Well...
But he doesn't die, right?
We should watch Exorcist III.
Well, we did. So I know that he doesn't die.
Well, he does, but he's in, like, purgatory. But still...
He does die?
His body dies, but his soul is suffering. His soul... I mean, not only does Damien Karras, as we know in Exorcist III... Damien Karras, his soul continues to suffer because the devil still has him.
Right. Okay.
You know, and that even adds even more horror to what went on. And one of the things that we didn't mention is one of my favorite characters in any movie is Lee J. Cobb as Detective Kinderman.
Yeah, the detective.
Who is trying to figure out what's going on and who befriends Damien Karras.
He tries to take him to a play.
Movie.
A movie.
A movie. I mean, he is so great. He's this cop trying to figure out what's going on because Burke Dennings was... I mean, Reagan McNeil possessed, kills Burke Dennings, throws him out a window, twists his head around.
He's at the... Then the detective finds the artifact.
Well, now, I have to say, now that is something I believe... Because that was the one time he finds one of her clay animals.
No, it wasn't a clay animal. It was the artifact that the priest found, the little devil head that he found.
No, I think it was one of the clay animals that Reagan McNeil made.
I don't think
The devil artifact isn't there yet. But that's something interesting.
No, we have to watch it again because I think that was that devil head that he found, that little one.
No, because later on when he goes to the house and he sees like the turtle, he says, "Your daughter, is she the artist?"
I don't know.
That was something new too. That was not in the.
Oh, it's not in the. Oh,
no,
okay.
It's not. No, I noticed that as well. So when Lieutenant Kinderman is looking where
Why is everyone always disagreeing with me? I have to see that scene again. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it was one of Reagan's animals.
Why did it look like the devil head that he found?
It only looks. It's the color, because they never do a real close up of it, and that's why when Kinderman goes in there, he's looking at the other animals, and he's going, "Your daughter, she's the artist."
I have to see that scene again.
No, I mean, it was funny because that struck me. No, it is one of her animals.
Fine, everybody disagree with me. I'm gonna watch this scene again.
But I understand why. I'll tell you something. In your defense, when that scene came up, I'm like, oh, this is new. This is new to this cut of the film. This is not in the theatrical version. And I'm like, I too was like, wait a minute, is that the Pazuzu, the devil head?
Right.
But then I realized, because you can see, and then it's clearly it's like an aardvark or something.
It's not clear.
Well, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, because I thought the same thing you did when I was watching it today.
Okay, see?
See?
I'm not out in left field.
You're not crazy, but you just don't know this movie as well as I do. So when because I was like waiting, that's why he then goes and picks up the animals. And it makes sense because in the original theatrical version, that scene's not in the movie. And so later on when he picks up the animal, your daughter, she's the artist? It's like, oh, she's a nice girl. But now, in the new version, he's hammering home the fact that Lieutenant Kinderman's like, that girl threw that dude out the window.
Right.
And
so
that,
wouldn't it make more sense for it to be the devil?
Yeah, but then it's too obvious. I mean, what's interesting is what's added into the movie for the most part, other than the spider walk sequence, it makes the movie more obvious. And Friedkin says that in the documentary on the Blu-ray. He goes, I took all this stuff out, and William Friedkin talks about.
Yes, I look at the comments.
William Friedkin talks about how John Cayley, who was married to Meg Tilly, John Cayley, who was an executive at Warner Brothers, was the executive who said, listen, you should take this stuff out. And Friedkin's like, no, I'm not going to take this stuff out. And then he went home, or he went back to the edit bay. He looked at all the movie, and he's like, he's right. And he took all of these things out. And the one thing that he put back in that I kind of like is because it's beautifully shot too. Is at the end during the exorcism scene where Marin and Karras come out and they're sitting on the steps. And Karras goes, why this girl? This is in the 2000 version. And Marin says, well, because of the corruptibility of her. And it's so obvious. And that's the thing that Friedkin and William Peter Blatty argued over for years. And so William Friedkin said, and rightfully so, this is why William Friedkin's a great film director, he goes, the whole movie is telling you this. You don't need the characters to go, well, the devil went after the girl because she's such an innocent and corrupt. I mean, you don't have to do that.
Right. You don't have, because then you're insulting your viewers. Like, let people think for themselves. I mean, we are intelligent beings.
Well, and I think that's why the movie would cause such a stir. I mean, this film was really the first pre-Jaws. This movie, The Exorcist, is really the film that ushered in the modern age of the blockbuster. A lot of people say it was Jaws and Star Wars. No, it was this film. Based on a popular work of fiction, it became a cause celeb. Everybody went to see this film. It was a huge success.
I didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, 1973, I was 6. You were 1.
I was 1.
You were 1. The year is 1. Hail Satan! No, I'm just kidding. Listen, I mean, I could talk about this movie all night long. We've been talking about it for over an hour. We have letters to read. We got comments to get to. I mean, well, let me ask you this: how does this movie make you feel when it's over? What have we learned? What Elizabeth? What are some of the lessons we can take away from William Friedkin's The Exorcist?
Don't play with a Ouija board.
That's it. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say don't play with a Ouija board. Really? At the end of the day,
I was being funny.
I know,
but don't do it.
But I mean, do you find, like, I find this movie, the way it ends, it ends with Kinderman and Dyer. They have a friendship there. I mean, I find this movie uplifting because evil. I mean, no one knew they were going to make Exorcist III.
Right.
If you in the context of
you
this,
skipped over 2.
Everybody should skip over 2. Even though, no, I shouldn't say that. I actually like Exorcist 2, but not as an Exorcist movie. I like it it's a John Boorman movie. If it's the John Boorman, the same guy who made Zardoz.
Oh, speaking of Zardoz.
Would you like to say a few words about Sean Connery?
Oh my God. I am devastated. I absolutely love Sean Connery, and this morning Sophie came and told me that he had died, and I've just been broken up all day.
Well, we didn't know this was going to happen, but next week begins our foray into the James Bond film franchise, and we are watching. We're going to watch a James Bond movie with every Bond, and we're starting with Goldfinger.
Yeah, I'm all choked up.
So Tuesday night, the next WINEning About Movies is Goldfinger. And then we're doing On Her Majesty's Secret Service, then we're doing The Spy Who Loved Me, then we're doing The Living Daylights, then we're doing GoldenEye, and then we are doing Skyfall with Claude.
So it's 2 weeks worth of...
Yes, 2 weeks worth of Bond films.
Very cool. I'm excited.
Yep. Well, let's delve into what people are saying. By the way, this is a fascinating conversation, I thought. Our man Jeffrey Mao, the chairman of our channel, Jeffrey Mao writes in, "Dear Rob and Elizabeth, the master of fun and wonder and the arbiter of what?
Cinematic excellence.
Cinematic excellence. Once again, it is I, the chairman, proffering you another review of a film that is quite appropriate again for this time of year. The film is Lucio Fulci's 1981 haunted house gorefest, The House by the Cemetery. The name of the film itself should tell you everything about it because, honestly, who wants to live in a house by the cemetery? I sure don't. But the intrepid family at the center of this film decided that would be a good idea. This film comes to us by way of Blue Underground, director William Lustig's boutique Blu-ray label, which has been doing an amazing job with 4K Ultra HD presentations of films from Lustig himself. By the way, can you hand me the film, that disc that's on the top there? Talk about Bill Lustig. Daughters of Darkness. If you like your lesbian vampirism with a 3D cover, look at this cover.
Oh, wow.
That is Blue Underground, just so you know.
That's cool.
But I sure don't. But the intrepid family at the center of this film decided that it would be a good idea. This film comes to us by way of Blue Underground, director William Lustig's boutique Blu-ray label, which has been doing an amazing job with 4K Ultra HD presentations of films from Lustig himself, like Maniac and also Fulci's other films, New York Ripper and Zombie. I've previously reviewed Fulci's 1972 film Don't Torture a Duckling, starring Barbara Boucher from Star Trek. This was during the height of the Italian Giallo period, but Fulci showed he was able to transition to more straight horror films in the late 1970s to the early 1980s. Fulci also changed countries, moving many of his films to a U.S. setting, including the aforementioned films, as well as City of the Living Dead and The Beyond. City, House, and Beyond form a trilogy of sorts, and also all-star British actress Catriona MacColl, who gets her to work out her screaming quite well. The one thing that I was impressed with in House was that it had a pretty genuine American feeling for the most part, despite the cast being mainly Italians and the dialogue dubbed. The dubbing actors mostly all did a good job delivering their lines naturally without the usual stiffness that you come to expect with dubbing actors. For the most part, you tend to forget that you are watching a dub, which is what you get with the main Dolby Atmos soundtrack. Obviously, that soundtrack is the preferred one, as you get all the creaking, moaning, groaning, and various other scary sound effects from all around, especially when you are inside the house. Now, on to the story itself. It's your typical haunted house story where strange murders have been going on for decades. People keep coming to live in the house, they mysteriously die or disappear, and the cycle repeats. The film focuses on the Boyle family, Dad Norman, Mom Lucy, Catriona McCall, and son Bob, who is the usual creepy kid who can see ghosts and a creepy girl with a creepy doll, first in a picture and then for real, and of course none of the adults believe him or see the girl. Norman is some kind of history researcher, and he's continuing the work of his colleague who had a mistress and then supposedly killed the mistress, which is the first scene in the film. Then he hangs himself. The murder took place where? Of course, the creepy house by the cemetery. That dead colleague had himself moved to the house to investigate the creepy history of the Friedkin family, who I guess were the first residents of the house, and might still live there. Norman convinces Lucy to move there with Bob to the creepy house so Norman can do his research, and he pitches it to Lucy as a way to get away from New York and move out to the quiet, open country of New England. Now, as we all know too well, no one in a horror film can move to an old creepy house in the middle of rural New England and not have it filled with ghosts, ghouls, undead murderers, and a tomb in the middle of the living room floor. It's pretty obvious what ensues from here. Fulci doesn't hold back with the gore and the blood, as he clearly overestimates how much a person bleeds when stabbed, or when his neck is ripped out, or how much blood a vampire bat has in its body. The quality of blood used had improved from the early 70s, which always were let down with too fake-looking blood. It was either too red or looked not dissimilar to strawberry jam. Yep. It also does look a bit purplish at times, but that could be due to the color grading. This film is a great example of a 4K restoration done absolutely right. Blue Underground is putting a lot of bigger shops to shame with what they're doing. Their original run was highly praised, although the content of the films is pretty rough and certainly not meant for everyone. I'm hoping that their new release, Daughters of Darkness, they can expand their reach and establish themselves as one of the best independent boutique physical media labels out there. If they can do this kind of work for really niche genre pictures, imagine what they can do with a more mainstream title. Also, keep in mind, a couple of these films are only shot on 16mm, so they're not always dealing with the best source material. It might also allow for more attractive pricing on their titles, which, Rob, I'm sure that you're aware of. With Daughters of Darkness, the lowest price I saw for it was a pre-order for $39. Now Amazon wants $59 plus. Ouch, that is definitely too rich for me. Perhaps if they offered a more stripped-down version without the lenticular cover and whatnot, they could cut the price. I don't even look. Do I look at the prices of these things? I pre-ordered that months and months ago. I have no idea. But look at that lenticular cover. Whatever it costs, it was worth it. Well, that's all I have for you all in this film. I have a bunch more films to go through from Arrow and Criterion. Yes, I did get Videodrome. By the way, do you know why the packaging for Videodrome is different than most other Criterion releases? Just curious. As always, I am your humble chairman, and thank you for reading. Well, Jeffrey Mao, one of our cornerstone members here at the Post-Geek Singularity, a great letter. Thank you so much for that. Criterion used to do a lot of packaging in paper boxes. Their early stuff, like Man Who Fell to Earth, was one of those things. And Videodrome was an early Criterion Blu-ray release. That's why they did it that way. So, yeah, it's not exactly ideal, but, yeah, they did that. So, let's see. We got another one.
Okay.
Another letter from Lubna Khan. She is a very quick one. Hello, Lubna Khan. Hello, she says. Just a quick query. Any thoughts about watching Arsenic and Old Lace for Elizaviews, one of my favorite films? Lubna, have you seen Arsenic and Old Lace?
I have not seen that.
It's a terrific film. That would be a good one. It's kind of like Kind Hearts and Coronets.
Okay, I would watch that.
That kind of vibe. Now, our main man, Black Philip Alvarez. Black Philip Alvarez is here with the letter. Greetings once again, Rob, Elizabeth, and my fellow PGS community. Back again with another letter. This time on The Exorcist and various other films. Now, on WINEning episode number 47, I sent in my first letter on Back to the Future, and I called it, God, Back to the Future was 47?
Oh my God.
That's crazy. And I called it a perfect movie. I believe there are very few films to be deemed as perfect. There's other films like Jaws, Jurassic, how much wine have I had? Jaws, Jurassic Park, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Sorry for the Spielberg hard-on, laugh out loud. Yet after watching The Exorcist, it got me thinking, is there such a thing as the perfect horror movie? As I mentioned in my past letter on the horror genre, I declared The Exorcist as not only my favorite horror movie of all time, but also a perfect movie. I agree with you. I also think Alien is a perfect movie, just to say. I would also like to add 5 more horror films as perfect. Those movies, in my humble opinion, are Silence of the Lambs. By the way, I can never go with you on Silence of the Lambs, but okay. Seven, The Shining, Misery, and Alien. I will give you my reasons why these 6 films are perfect to me, so yes, apologies in advance for another long letter. Hey man, it's Halloween. Allow me to talk first about tonight's film, The Exorcist. I was first introduced to this film on TV. I did enjoy the movie, but of course the best parts are edited. Then in 2003, I had the honor of watching the 30th anniversary director's cut version that was re-released in theaters with my ex-wife and brother-in-law. I remember cracking up, really, along with my bro-in-law. The movie is unintentionally funny because of what comes out of Reagan's mouth while she's possessed. It wasn't at the time, though. However, it doesn't take away from how creepy and scary the movie is. We feel sympathy for Reagan because she is possessed like the devil himself. To me, what makes the movie absolutely perfect is the backstory of Father Karras. He is shown as struggling with his faith due to the guilt from the loss of his mother. We also feel sorry for Reagan in seeing all the tests she goes through and how they are a bit torturous. I do prefer the original version over the director's cut, I do. One, as I feel it drags, especially in the beginning. I get that it's supposed to set up Max von Sydow's Father Meyer. I don't think they changed the beginning at all. I do like the added devil subliminal appearances. I only liked one. The spider walk Reagan does while possessed. The final 25 minutes of the movie is the exorcism sequence is also perfectly crafted. It's tense, it's brilliantly acted, and you feel for all 3 characters. While it was a shame to see Father Meyer succumb to the exorcism, the ending appears to have Father Karras become justified when he sacrificed himself for Reagan's own life. What a horrific demise to a character who struggles throughout the film. Or, if you look at it, that's how he gets into heaven. The film is a masterpiece nonetheless and still holds up today as one of the best horror films ever made. Now on to the next horror movie I deem as perfect, Silence of the Lambs. Yes, I know Manhunter was the first to introduce the Hannibal Lecter character, yet that is not the perfect movie of the franchise. This movie not only had the distinguished honor of being the first horror movie to win the Best Picture Oscar. By the way, Exorcist was the first horror movie to be nominated for Best Picture, and I think it should have won, but, it couldn't have. But it's only the 3rd film to win the top 5 awards of Best Picture, Actor, Actress, Director, and Screenplay. Well deserved as far as I'm concerned. So what makes the film perfect? Well, it has great chemistry between Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling, a rookie FBI agent assigned to the case of Buffalo Bill, who has kidnapped the daughter of a senator. As great as Sir Anthony Hopkins is as Lecter, I find Ted Levine's Buffalo Bill character to be far more creepy. Is he a great big fat person? We all know the infamous scene to the song Goodbye Horses, and of course the always quotable, "It puts the lotion in the basket." I truly feel Ted Levine should have gotten a nomination for the role and even should have won. It's blasphemy he wasn't even nominated for Buffalo Bill. The ending is one of the most tense ever in the dark and night vision views. The movie needs a 4K release ASAP. Come on, man. Now, I know my next perfect horror film will be controversial because of Kevin Spacey. No, it's not. It's awesome. No worries, I'm not that kind of writer. You have to separate the art from the artist, regardless of any controversy. The movie, of course, is David Fincher's Seven. What an amazing follow-up to the divisive Alien 3. Yes, I consider Seven a horror film in every possible way. Would you believe that I actually have an action figure of Brad Pitt from Seven?
Where is it?
It's somewhere. Come on, man. It's definitely horror. Wait. Yes, I consider Seven a horror film in every possible way. A serial killer who murders his victims based on the 7 deadly sins. Come on, man. It's definitely horror. What makes the film perfect also is you genuinely care about the characters of the movie. The Brad Pitt character, Mills, and his wife and partner Somerset, played by the always great Morgan Freeman, who's only days away from retirement. There's also Mills' wife, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, whose demise is the creator of What's in the Box ending. Oops, spoilers. However, I will try not to be controversial, but I find Kevin Spacey's John Doe character fascinating. His reasoning for the killings are very philosophical and yet beyond creepy. The fact he wanted to be caught is unheard of in any genre film. Look at the ending when John Doe is giving his monologue in the back of the police car. Mills just believes it's nonsense, but look at the reactions of Somerset. It's as if he actually believes and sympathizes with the words John Doe is saying, which he does. John Doe clearly planned his demise quite well and based it on both envy and wrath. I'm amazed this film didn't get any awards love. Talk about blasphemy. Seven is one of the finest horror films ever made. I agree with you. And by the way, I'd put it in top 5 up there with The Exorcist. The next perfect film I want to talk about is The Shining. I know Stephen King himself doesn't care for this adaptation of his novel, but who am I to question a movie directed by the late, great Stanley Kubrick? You should not. Good for you. The movie is still creepy and very well made. It's amazing seeing Jack Torrance slowly go crazy. You sympathize with the Shelley Duvall wife character also because she goes through hell and back seeing her husband and son go crazy in different ways. The movie is also, of course, famous for the blood elevator scene and the room 237 scene. It's just a well-made film, even with the changes from the book. The sci-fi adventure film Ready Player One even pays homage to The Shining. It's not really even in the book, but I believe it was Spielberg's idea. It is not in the book, and it was Spielberg's idea. I even love the sequel Dr. Sleep. So do we. Didn't you like Dr. Sleep?
Yes, very much.
From last year, a great homage to the original, and any fan of The Shining should appreciate it. Now, upon proofreading my letter, 2 more perfect horror movies with strong female performances come to mind. Misery and Alien. The former Misery has a well-deserved Oscar-winning performance by Kathy Bates. By the way, you have to say that that movie is also based on a book by Stephen King. Her character, Annie Wilkes, is definitely the creepiest of any character in the above movies I've mentioned. An obsessed fan of Paul Sheldon, who nurses him back to health after a car crash. You honestly sympathize with Paul as he is forced to rewrite his latest novel after Annie doesn't approve of the demise of the main character, Misery. The movie is riddled with immense tension as Paul tries to escape. The famous ankle-breaking scene is still cringe-worthy to this very day. I love every minute of this movie. By the way, I want to point out that when I was at the Evergreen State College, I bought Misery, and I read it in my top bunk in one sitting. Now let's talk about Alien. Can what is essentially a sci-fi monster movie be perfect? Yes, sir, it can, because it is. Absolutely, because it has strong performances all around. You believe in the closeness of the crew. Dude, Alien has peak verisimilitude. The slow build-up only adds to the tension, and once it starts, the tension and horror of the film never lets up until the end. The chest burster scene is one of the most memorable scares in movie history. Yes, the Ripley character is known as one of the first female heroines in horror. Her strong dedication towards her crew is genuine and believable. Sure, she became more of a badass in Aliens, but to me the film is more action than horror. It's still a brilliant film, though. In conclusion, I would like to thank you, Rob and Elizabeth, for concluding October with a masterpiece like The Exorcist. There was no better movie to end horror movie month. I never realized the horror genre had so many perfect films. All my own opinion, of course, but this is why it's my favorite genre, and I'm sure others have their own list of perfect films from any genre. That's the beauty of being a true movie fan. So what a great month for whining about movies. I have gracefully enjoyed every episode. I'm honored and humbled. Y'all have enjoyed my letters this month as well. Stay safe out there, and happy Halloween.
Great letter.
That from Black Philip Alvarez.
Black
What do you
Phillip.
think? Do you have any comments about his movie choices?
Oh, very good letter. Yes. I like all those films.
I do too. I don't think Silence of the Lambs is as perfect as people think, though.
I like Silence of the
It's great.
Lambs.
But it's great because I think the third act is problematic. But, you know, that's just me.
I haven't seen it in years, so.
It's still great. I mean, I can't sit there and be a contrarian and go, it did win Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Screenplay. I'm not going to be that guy. Many of you have been firing in questions. Let's take a gander at where we are at here and see what people have to say. Willow says, this isn't directly about The Exorcist, but since you and Elizabeth have been reviewing horror films this month, what is the scariest film, not your favorite, but scariest, that you've ever seen, and what is Elizabeth's? Only you can answer.
Scariest. Whew. Well, what is your scariest? Let me think while you talk.
Well, I have to say, this movie scared... When I saw it when I was 13 years old, the very first time, As I said, I could not get past the Iraq sequence. The whole tone of it, because, you know, as the Viceroy of Verisimilitude, I was looking for... I'd never seen, like you know, there were some interesting things that happened when I was a kid with horror. Like, we watched Vampire Circus. Like, when I was a kid, horror was in the mountains of Carpathia. You know, they were in Europe, and it was distant, and it was far away. Now, I hadn't seen Psycho yet. I didn't realize that how much horror really exists in our neighborhood, or could exist in our neighborhood. I mean, during quarantine, we saw a dead man lying at the corner of our...
shot in the head.
Shot in the head, killed. So there's horror to be found everywhere. But as a genre, as a literary genre, it was always, you know, Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, or Bram Stoker's Dracula. It was not here. And in the 70s, actually, I think that really... I mean, Hitchcock began with Psycho, and Powell and Pressburger might have begun with Peeping Tom. But, you know, George Romero with Night of the Living Dead, it's like we're in a farmhouse, and he brought horror to America.
Yeah.
And Stephen King did that. You know, that crazy girl that lives down the street. She's the psychic girl that's going to kill everybody at prom. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Ed Gein. Why does America breed more serial killers than anybody else in the world? And so those things were all very scary. But to me, I hadn't seen those movies before, and to me, when I saw The Exorcist, it was the scariest thing I ever saw, because of its relentless realism, and I believed what I saw was happening. All the other... I love the horror genre. I mean, I'm surrounded by hundreds of horror novels and paperbacks and all that. I love horror.
Right.
But so much of horror has that fantasy element. He's a vampire.
Yes, right. Okay, so that brings me to... what I find really, really frightening and horrifying is actually true stories of, like, serial killers. Those kind of movies really, truly freak me out because they're true. They've happened, and humans actually have done such horrific things, like really horrible things, that it's just horrifying to me, and it's so frightening. It scares the shit out of me.
No, I think you're absolutely right. So is there...
Because that could be our neighbor. That could be, you know... and when you're a mother, too, you think, like, oh, my God, if a serial killer got their hands on my children, what would I do? That would be the most horrible thing in the world.
No, I agree.
But second to that, it would be any movie that has to do with the devil and possession. Those movies scare the shit out of me.
Well, I think this, to me, the scariest thing in the world is coming up against another human being that has a complete lack of empathy.
Yes, it's...
Because if human beings, and there are people that don't have any, you know, that torture animals, that it's not just serial killers. There are people that have no empathy.
They have no empathy.
And that, to me, is the scariest thing in the world.
It's absolutely terrifying.
And, you know, the fall of civilization, whether it's post-apocalyptic, they always show the people that have no empathy rising to the top.
Yes, they do, because they're ruthless.
Right. And that's the scariest thing to me. That's why, you know... Frightening. And I think that's why when I first saw Dawn of the Dead, I saw Dawn of the Dead before Night of the Living Dead, but the thing that scares me the most, I mean, I love civilization, I love human achievement, I love arts, and I look at the pyramids, and I realize, oh my God, the pyramids were ancient when Rome was at its height.
Right. The
pyramids were 2,000 years old already. And I have such a love of what mankind is capable of, but also I've seen, being a Jew, the lack of empathy. I mean, it's built, unfortunately, into our culture now, that we had 6 million people systematically destroyed by a lack of empathy, dehumanized. Yeah. And we're very good at it.
Yes.
Nobody is as good as dehumanizing human beings as other human beings are.
Yeah. And that's what scares me the most. Like, true films about the Holocaust, serial killers, the horrific things that humans can do to each other, that's what scares me the most.
So do you have one in particular? Because Will is asking. I know it's tough.
That's hard.
You don't have to come. There's no wrong answer. You don't have to come up with one now. You can think about that. We can get back to Willow. Warren Wright sends in a super chat and says, sending some Halloween love to all the Robservations family. Happy Halloween, everyone. Well, happy Halloween to Warren. Thank you, sir. Cheers to you. Tim's here. Timbula the Spider Monkey is here. As much as I love this, I have a hard time picking between this and The Exorcist III. I am a huge Exorcist III fan. That's another one of those Blu-rays that I have multiple copies of. Again, William Peter Blatty wrote Exorcist III and directed it. Two absolutely perfect films. It's just a shame that the other offerings in this franchise are so horrendously bad, even if 2 does give us James Earl Jones as a leopard. Well, you know what? You know what's really funny? I wish that John Borman had just made Exorcist II was called just The Heretic and not Exorcist II. And it was its own thing, because I think it has value. You know, Borman in the 70s, when he was doing Zardoz, he did Deliverance, he did Zardoz, and then he did Exorcist II. If you look at Exorcist II and Zardoz almost as a duology, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on there, but horrifically terrible sequel. Exorcist II, The Heretic was the first R-rated movie I saw in a theater, and I was like, I hadn't seen The Exorcist. I was so excited. I'm like, what the fuck? I totally felt betrayed.
Yeah, but Zardoz. Come on.
I know, but I hadn't seen Zardoz yet.
Zardoz.
Cinema Gulp. Oh, wait, hang on. Warren Wright is back and says, can you both give my wife, Lorraine Wright, a grand shout-out? It would mean a lot to me. A grand. How do we make it grand? We could say, Lorraine Wright, here's a shout-out to you. Here's to you. Or we could do it grand, like, Lorraine, we love your husband, Warren. He sent us a super chat and asked, because he loves you so much. Oh, Warren, what a good husband you are to your wife. I love a girl named Lorraine. I've never dated one, but she sounds lovely. Come on, you got to add in something into that.
I don't sing, but I love that you turn this into a musical.
Well, I think that's grand. 'Cause Warren Wright is a good man.
Keep going, babe.
I think he could give you a hand if you needed your tire or chained or changed. You know what? What can I say?
Or chained.
I meant changed. Look, man, I'm no rapper. I can't change. Well, it is Halloween.
I mean, we are talking about horror.
You know what? Okay, since we're talking about horror, he did put his wife's name in quotes. So Lorraine could be a figment of his imagination. And Warren Wright is crazy. And he's crazy like a serial killer.
Okay,
and,
you're going too far.
Sorry, I know, but it is Halloween. But it is weird that he put his wife's... Oh, right, because it's not his real... It's not a real name.
Why wouldn't it be a real name?
Because it's the internet. You don't tell people.
Why? I mean, yes, you do.
No, because then I could look up Lorraine Wright and be like, I could start stalking her and be like, oh,
what the hell?
Your husband,
Stop.
I'm just saying.
You're
that's
being
why.
Crazy. Here's to Lorraine.
Forget
all the crazy stuff he said.
Lorraine. That was actually, by the way, just so you know, I was singing it to the tune of Brazil.
Yes, I know.
Say, just, you know. I hope, Warren, I did you all right. Cinema Gulp. Great letters from Cinema Gulp. My first ever super chat. Liz, you look amazing tonight.
Wow,
Rob, loving the long hair. Happy Halloween, you two. Love you guys. Yeah, the hair. What do you think about the long hair? I mean, it's got to be. I was
going to trim it today, but you never came to the salon.
So. I didn't. I've got weird, like, old man, like, hair growing out of my ear. It's terrible.
Oh, we can shave it.
This is the way. Tim, the Spider Monkey says, the re-release in the 2000s was the last film I saw with my last girlfriend in the cinema. She told me anyone who liked that kind of rubbish has problems. So it was the first movie I watched with my now girlfriend. She loved it. That's when I know she was the one. Yeah, I mean, first of all, if anybody tells you this movie's rubbish, kick him to the curb.
You know why she said that? Because it scared her. That's why.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You don't think she's just kind of a killjoy? Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't know. Our man Anthony Gonzalez is here. He says, is there something in this film that Blatty is reminding us you can't solve everything in life with money? Could be. The McNeil family are elites that can afford any professional procedure at any time. In the end, it takes a broke man with spiritual resolve. Anthony, I love that. Again, something that hadn't occurred to me, but I think absolutely correct, sir. You are right. She can afford any procedure, but I don't think this is necessarily an indictment of our healthcare system. But I think now, what I love about this is that almost 50 years later, this film takes on that added resonance for you. That is great. I like that. It takes a broke man with spiritual resolve.
Yep.
Cheers to you, good sir.
Cheers.
We lift our goblet of rock to you. Cheers to Anthony. Happy Halloween.
Tim says, "Oh, she was definitely a killjoy."
Sister Harrow is here. Sister Harrow sends a super chat and she says, "Because Rob said F you and uses the finger." Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I mean, you got to do it right. Anthony Gonzalez goes on, and by the way, Sister Harrow, thank you. Thanks for she's been around for a while.
See what your finger brought you?
I know, right? I appreciate that. Anthony Gonzalez sends in a tip and says, if you remember the Hooper film Poltergeist, the spirits in the home wanted Carol Ann to help take them to the light. Imagine what would happen if they actually pulled a possessed Reagan into the TV. How would that go? Well, that's interesting, but I don't think... I think that the spirits in Poltergeist were evil, too. They were like underlings. I think if Reagan was pulled into the TV, she'd be like, all right, let me straighten y'all out. But that's actually... That, my friend, is a Funny or Die sketch. Or better yet, I mean, why don't we have Carol Ann from Poltergeist? Where's Sadako or Samara from The Ring? She's already in the TV. Maybe it was Sadako who was hanging out there, and she just didn't like blondes, so she went after Carol Ann. I don't know. Good question. Anthony goes on to say, as an indigenous person, I personally loved the exorcism in The Prophecy, with Christopher Walken and Viggo Mortensen playing Lucifer superbly. The exorcism is performed by a Navajo spiritual elder, so I do believe in these things on a spiritual level. Anthony, let me tell you, I am a huge fan of indigenous people or First Peoples horror. When I read Graham Masterton was a Brit, and he was culturally appropriating Native American stuff. But I would love to make, if I could be responsible for making an indigenous horror film. I mean, I'm not saying the Manitou, although I think it would be fantastic to make the most authentic indigenous First Peoples horror film that you could. I think that would be great. Love to do that. I don't know what that story would be. Warren Wright sends another super chat and says, my wife and I say cheers to you and your gorgeous better half, Elizabeth. We love you both. Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Warren Wright. He thinks you are the gorgeous woman. And Warren isn't wrong, and he says it in front of his own wife.
Because he loves his wife.
He loves his wife. Thank you, Warren. I appreciate that. I hope we gave you a grand enough... I don't know what I did. I sang.
It was a musical just for you.
There you go. Black Philip Alvarez is here. Black Philip Alvarez says, would you believe about 80% of tonight's letter was written after downing a six-pack? Yes, I would. I only added Misery and Alien the next day. Thanks for reading. Rest in peace, Sean Connery, my favorite Bond.
Oh, Sean Connery.
I know, man.
I'm so broken up.
I know. Aeon sends in a super chat. I believe an underappreciated horror film is Spielberg's AI.
Which I chose.
Which you chose. We've done that on WINEning About Movies. I don't think you're wrong. I think there's a great case to be made that AI is in fact a horror film. Especially the way it ends.
Yeah.
I like that.
Heart-wrenching.
It is heart-wrenching.
Heart-wrenching.
Another movie that deals with parenthood, too.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting to parent a child. DKG Customs sent in a super chat and says, my family's working hard for a film for the festival. Just hit
Ooh.
new lockdown, so it's going to be tough. They work so hard. Listen, man,
Wow, that's great.
I want to see it. You know, the film festival is going to be ramping up in November.
It's the whole family working on it.
The whole
I
family's
love
working
that.
on it. You know what? Like all good filmmakers, you got to pivot. You got to make it work. Don't give up. Remember what Kate Bush said.
You still have time.
Don't
You can
give
do
up.
this.
Because you have friends.
I love that you're singing so much this episode.
I don't know why. It's because of Warren Wright.
It's the wine.
Warren Wright.
What is in this wine?
I don't know.
It's the dragon.
It is the dragon.
You've been possessed by the dragon.
Anal Nathrak Uthra Spetha Doth Liliende. That's from Excalibur. It's the charm of making.
There you go.
We did that. That's what it's. The dragon's breath. I'm going to ride the dragon's breath, and I'm going to have sex with Igraine in my full suit of armor and give birth to Mordred. Or Arthur. I forget.
Cheers.
You know. Whatever. So, there you go. Well, I would say that we this show has been going on for... we've gone on for...
An hour and 40
we're at 100 minutes. 100 minutes. Well, okay. Then we're going to bring this special Halloween episode of Elizaviews to an end, I think.
Yeah. So it's next week we start the Bond films.
Yeah, well, we start them on Tuesday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we're going to do 6 Bond movies for 2 weeks. And the reason we're doing them is because No Time to Die was supposed to open in November, and it's not. I mean, it was supposed to open in April, then it was November, now it's April.
Yeah.
So,
and then I was like, we should do Bond movies.
Mm.
Yeah, especially with my obsession with Sean Connery.
And even though it's from Live and Let Die, I'm going to let you release a toy, open the toy on the show.
I'm going to open the Bond toys. Plural.
1.
Toys. Plural.
I don't have well,
you have more than one Bond toy.
yeah, but not Bond himself. Baron Samedi and Solitaire. And anyway.
I'm opening them all. Do you have Sean Connery as Bond?
I had all of them. They were in my storage locker. I had a bunch of Sean Connery figures. I don't.
Yeah, but you don't anymore.
No. By the way, for those of you, I am wearing an Exorcist shirt. I bought this shirt. I thought it was so cool. This is Robert Smith from The Cure. I had a poster in my college dorm room. Actually, after college, it was huge. Boys Don't Cry. So this is Robert Smith taking the place of Lancaster Marin. I thought this shirt was great. You were not understanding why I like the shirt.
Yeah, I don't see the connection between this guy and the Exorcist.
Well, the actual poster of Robert Smith, the Boys Don't Cry poster, looked just like this, and somebody figured out, they put 2 things that are incongruous together, and I thought it was cool because I'm a Cure fan. I love The Cure.
I love The Cure, too.
And I thought this was pretty cool, just so you know.
I just don't understand putting the 2 together, but okay.
I know,
cool.
it's... Ricky B says free all the toys.
Free the toys.
Well, if
Hashtag
I have
free
room, I
the
mean, I'm
toys.
getting there.
It's taking a long time. Babe.
Elizabeth, luckily, when she came in here, she didn't see something that was not in here before, because I put it somewhere, and I'm talk about freeing a toy. Wow.
What the hell? What is that huge box up there? I'm so distracted by
That's
it.
what I was talking about.
No, I saw it. And when we started the show and I looked up to introduce myself, I kept looking over there like, what is that?
I had to get out of the way, so I put it there.
What the hell is that? It's an Iron Man.
It's the Hot Toys Hulkbuster from Avengers Age of Ultron. What? I put it there to get out of the way because it was in a gigantic box. What do you... Why? What?
Well, now we can't buy groceries for 3 months.
No. What do you mean? What does that have to do with our spending? That has nothing to do with money.
Yeah, it does. How much did that
not
thing cost?
recently. Not recently. It's not like I just got that. This thing has been in process for over a year. Yeah. Just saying.
Well, I'm going to open it.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to free the Hulkbuster.
Throggazuzu sends in a tip and says, one of my all-time favorite films. I love to watch Catholics squirm when mentioned or seeing a clip. It's the gift that keeps on giving. See, it's interesting. See, I like this movie because it casts Catholics as the one line of defense between true evil. I like that. Don't you?
Wait, say that again. I was distracted by the chat.
Oh. What were you distracted by?
Somebody said, "Don't call me dude." LOL.
And underneath, Micah Willis said howdy, like Captain Howdy. Warren writes
Howdy.
like, hell yeah, release the Hulkbuster.
That's right, and I'm going to release it.
You can't even pick that up.
Don't matter. You're gonna
Don't matter.
You're
Like
gonna...
what are we? What? That don't matter. Don't matter. Like what is? What?
You're gonna pick it up. You're gonna put it on the desk, and I'm gonna open it up.
No, we can't. It's not going to fit on this desk. We
Well,
can,
once you clean all this stuff off,
we can do an unboxing. It'll have to be done over there, though.
Fine.
That'll be part of the new show. Look, we have to have something on this channel. By the way, I'm going to announce something. Can I announce my new show?
Yay! Look, Elizabeth released the
Hulk,
Hulkbuster.
yeah.
Thank you. I will. I will.
Well, okay. I'm gonna.
Oh, and here's a request, especially today. Somebody, please make me a Zed figure, please.
That's asking a lot. Making custom figures is really difficult.
There are talented people out there.
Okay. I'm going to announce. I'm going to announce a new show. We keep announcing shows that we don't do, but
We gotta do them.
in the next 2 months, we're going to have Fully Articulated, where you're going to release the toys.
Hashtag free the toys.
We're doing The Heart of Trek, a couple's guide to the Final
Star
Frontier.
Trek.
And I'm going to announce another show that we're going to debut a week from tomorrow. Dieter Bastian and I are going to do a half-an-hour show about physical media around the world. And we're going to talk about things that we've recently acquired, stuff that we want to get. We're going to do a little review, and it's going to be interesting. So Dieter Bastian and I are going to do a show, and it's going to be a half-an-hour show that's going to debut on Mondays during the day. It's pre-recorded. It will not be a live show, just so you know. We don't have a title for it yet, but we're going to talk about our love of physical media. So that's going to be cool. So Elizabeth, we're down to it. We're down to the bottoms-up scale. What is the bottoms-up scale?
How much would you pay for an Elizabeth hot toy?
Well, should I talk about how much rent I pay and like, I mean, I pay every day.
No, for the actual toy. Anyway,
She's worth it though. You know what? I'll tell you this. I could
Well, you
never.
get to live
No,
here,
no. I'll
too.
tell you. I could never pay enough because she is limitlessly valuable.
aw,
How about that?
thank you, babe.
You like that?
That
Come on,
was-
give me a kiss, baby. Come
yeah.
on. Didn't you like that? Come on, give me a better kiss. Come on, give me some tongue. Oh, yeah, baby. There. Sorry. Anyway,
All right, the bottoms up scale.
what is the bottoms up scale? Tell us
The
what that
bottoms
is.
up scale is from 1 to 4 glasses.
1 to 4 glasses. Yeah.
Because there are 4 glasses in a bottle.
Paso Dragon seemed to have like twice as much this
Yeah,
time.
man, that was a good wine for you.
That was a good wine for me.
So
I loved it.
you're possessed by the dragon.
I Anal Nathrak Uthros Bethod Dothrialiende. So yeah, wait, continue.
Okay, so what do you rate this film, Rob?
You're supposed to say what I rate this film is. This film gets 4 glasses of wine for me. If I had more wine, if I had a second bottle, it would get 8 glasses of wine.
Oh, jeez.
No, this film to me is one of my favorite films of all time. It's my favorite horror film of all time. It's one of the great films ever made, and it's a towering achievement even 48 years later, or 47 years later. And I think that this film has barely dated at all, if at all. Because what's great is you don't really see cars. I think Friedkin was really smart in that even the fashions maybe, but for the most part, there's nothing that really dates this movie. He was very smart.
Well,
What about you?
I will also give this 4 glasses of wine.
4 glasses of wine. Well, that's good. I think then we have to then a Black Phillip Alvarez. Well, hang on. If Black Phillip, look, there's the real Black Phillip. Black Phillip Alvarez says, a hot toy of my new horror BFF Elizabeth. Yes, please. Well, look at that. I mean, there it is. These are the original models of the somebody should make this figure. I mean, there she is, everyone. There she is. Look at that. There she is, just possessing down the street, singing diddy diddy dum diddy ba. She's Black Phillip. There she is. Come on now. Throg Diggler says Boogie Nights tonight in the Robservatory. Nice. You know what? I only wish I had Dirk Diggler's unit, because I could use 13 inches of real man meat.
Oh, man.
You know, that would be great. That's like twice as much as I'm packing.
I think you need to stop drinking right now.
Oh, well, come on now. It's Halloween. What's this? There's white things in the air. Rega, hey, look who's here. Jason Spriggs is here. Reagan Media sending a super chat. Usually when I watch Elizaviews, I put on the movie afterwards. Not tonight. Cars are packed with everything we need for the shoot in 8 hours, so gotta sleep now. Now, that's Jason Spriggs, who won the film festival poster contest. He sent me some pictures. He ain't messing around. Sir Mix-a-Lot has a song called Seattle Ain't Bullshittin'. Well, Jason Spriggs ain't bullshitting either. And I can't wait to see what he comes up with.
I'm excited.
Warren Wright sends in another super chat. Warren Wright, who wanted a no. Warren Wright says, Rob, we park our shuttles in the same shuttle bay when it comes to our better halves. Well, there you go. But would you let your better half open up your Hulkbuster?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Like, would you?
Yes, he would.
That's the most terrifying shit ever.
No, I'm freeing that toy.
No, it's you know what, I want to.
Well, we can do that one together.
Okay, we can do it together. Okay.
But I get to pose it.
No. And you'll see why. So I think we're gonna end this great Halloween episode of Elizaviews. The dogs are probably wondering, what the hell happened to them?
Well, they're not barking, so.
They're not barking because they have food, but they got to go out.
Yes, they do.
So anyway, yeah, it's true. Should we end this episode?
We should.
So first of all, we have to announce we have 2 weeks of James Bond in November, celebrating the non-release of No Time to Die, and we are going to watch a James Bond film from every Bond, beginning with Goldfinger. Moving on to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Moving on to The Spy Who Loved Me. Moving on to The Living Daylights. Moving on to GoldenEye. And moving on to Skyfall with special guest Claude, who's one half of the official adoptive couple of the Burnettwork, Claude and Candida. So that is going to be the next 2 weeks of Elizaviews. We're going to get our Bond on. So we're going to shake you, not stir you.
That's right. We're going to shake you, not stir.
Maybe we should drink martinis instead of wine. We should make 6 different kinds of martinis.
Oh, I can't.
Why? Oh, because you can only drink dark spirits? Mm-hmm. Can't you make martinis out of some dark spirit, like rum or something? Ew. We'll figure it out. Okay. Ooh, okay.
I don't like rum.
All right, well then, you got to take us out.
Everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear, and all you have to do is listen.
That's good. And as always,
have a better night.
Have a better night. La plume dilettante.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
And stay safe.
Stay scared.
And stay away from serial killers.
And vote. Vote your conscience. I don't care what you vote for or who you vote for, but vote. Voting is not a much too vulgar display of power.